Good evening, everyone. Tonight we're standing in a small kitchen where the only light is the fridge bulb, and the only sound is a baby's slow, snuffling sleep while my thumb hovers over a text that I hope will save us $40 and maybe our dignity for one more day. So before you get too comfortable, take a moment to like this video and subscribe, but only if you truly enjoy what I do here. And in the comments, tell me where you're listening from and what time it is. I like seeing our little constellation of night owls. Now, turn off the lights. Maybe let a fan hum in the background. And let's begin tonight's journey together. I'm Mara, and the baby in the thrift store bassinet is Luca, my grandson. Rent in 2 days. Formula almost gone. My daughter, Iris, left for Europe 3 months ago with a selfie near something tall and French. She left Luca for 1 month. I didn't argue. I text the number saved as Carla Church. Carla, this is Mara. I hate to ask, but could I borrow 40 until Friday? Luca's formula is almost out. Send 3 dots. Who is this? Wrong Carla. Sorry, I write. What do you need 40 for? Baby formula, I say. We'll be okay. Cash app comes back. I don't have one. The stranger walks me through it. Ping, $40. Then 60, then 200. Please, I type. That's too much. Not too much for a warrior. The stranger replies, check your porch. On the mat, diapers, formula, a lemon sliced teether, and a card for Luca from a friend. Light joke 1. If generosity had a doorbell, I would have asked it to stop spooking me. By morning, another box. By noon, a stroller with opinions. By dusk, a deposit, $10,000. Memo, breathing room. I stare at my wobbly kitchen table and wonder if angels learned modern banking or I'm auditioning for a very polite scam. Academic phrase of the day. The identifiable victim effect. The public argument that people give more freely to one vivid person or baby than to an abstract cause. Being seen hits like rain after a drought. Still, the elder in me knows sunlight is the best disinfectant. Elder wisdom. When help knocks. Name it and price it. Ask what it costs tomorrow before you say yes today. Boundaries are receipts for your future peace. I keep records, dates, deposits, doorstep items, printed and clipped because printers, like cats, behave better when you pretend they have options. After each delivery, I text, thank you, but who are you? Replies, call me Grant. Later, doesn't matter. Another, focus on the baby. Quirky sidebar. True. Ketchup was sold as medicine in the 1830s. Relevant. In a year when reassurance ships overnight and the label reads, subscription, at the park. I rock Luca over the seam where path meets grass. A black sedan idles at the curb. Coincidence is a cousin of paranoia. They share casseroles. I find a locket in the stroller pocket. Silver. Still warm. Inside, a photo of me holding Luca. Taken from across my street through our window. Joke 2, gentle. I wanted candid shots, but not the kind that require a neighborhood watch agenda. I call the number. An older voice answers. Come? Mara, he says. I hope the gifts fit. I'm nearby. I could introduce myself. I'm grateful, I say. And I'm a grandmother with a very small budget for being surveilled. He chuckles. Understood. I'm a widower. My late wife said, if you can fix a leak, fix 3. I'm just fixing 3. You and Luca are 2. Your name? A beat. Edwin, he says. That evening, the bell rings again. I wait. Then open the door to Daisy's and a hardware store gift card tucked inside a brochure titled, How to Shim a Table Without Starting a Relationship. Joke 3. Reader. I shimmied that table and not a single commitment was proposed. Still, the quiet phrase. A neighbor mentions a sedan cruising slow, the way a thought loops when you're trying to sleep. I move the bassinet away from the window and leave the porch light on. Pride is a smoke alarm, shrill and unhelpful, But fear is a carbon monoxide detector, if it sounds. You move. Morning ping. Meet me at the park bench near the ducks. Broad daylight. I'll stay 10 feet away. No pressure. True crime podcasts line up like jurors. Still, 10 feet is a moat and daylight a lawyer. I text back. 15 feet. We set noon. I pack Luca's bottle, a spare onesie, and my grandmother's brass whistle that I've never used, but enjoy believing intimidates wolves and bureaucracy. I call my neighbor June, retired nurse. She'll sit on the next bench with a crossword and the power of witness. The park is bright. Ducks gossip at the shoreline. June lifts a thermos. The sedan parks across the street, and an older man steps out, tallish, neat. He stops at our agreed distance, hands visible. The choreography of trust. Mara, he says. Edwin. 15 feet, I remind him. I won't cross it, he says. I brought papers, not for you to sign, proof I'm not a ghost. If you want me to leave, say the word. I'll vanish, and the gifts stop. No strings, no grudges. He sets a thin folder on the bench between us and steps back. Inside are copies, his ID, a letter from a small foundation in his wife's name, receipts for the purchases, a printout of our first wrong number text. Sunlight falls across them like a clear thought. Why us? I ask. Because you asked, he says. Most people won't. And because my wife never forgave herself for the one time she looked away. I glance at June. She gives the small nurse's nod that says, I'm steady. I look back to Edwin. The part of me that keeps lists wants to inventory every risk. The part that names things, hunger, help, hope, wants to say thank you and also, not like this. Okay, I say, show me the papers. From there, we decide how this goes. Slowly, with rules, in daylight. He keeps the distance honest. I read from where I stand. There's a difference between being saved and being partnered. I've learned to tell them apart. We are not a story yet, just a scene 15 feet wide where two people agreed to treat caution like a shared language. That is where I leave us for tonight. Luca dreaming, June watching, daisies nodding in the wind, and me measuring the space between gratitude and consent. Deciding whether to take the next small step, June shifts on her bench. The brass whistle glinting at my collarbone like a tiny trumpet that only plays the note called enough. Luca snuffles. A duck shakes off lake water. Edwin keeps to his line. 10 fingers visible. Papers fanned like a modest hand of cards. Here are the conditions, I say. No photos, no surprises, text before deliveries, money through the foundation. Weekly limit. If I say stop, it stops. He nods. Agreed. 200 a week unless you text for an exception. I'll park 3 blocks away. No porch, no window watching. Decent, I say. We shake the air between us. No touch, just mirrored gratitude. I gather Luca and the folder and return to June. Pulse is even, she murmurs. Let him prove it. At home. A text. One last package today with a list inside. After that, only by request. E. I reply, doorstep, then leave. Late afternoon, formula. Wipes and an envelope. Inside, a printed what I will not do list. No unannounced visits, no photos, no advice giving, signed with a clear hand. Light joke 1. I have never been happier to read a stranger's no list. It's like learning your new roommate already hates dishes in the sink. I pin the list near the calendar. I call the bank. The 10,000 still sits there like a whale in a koi pond. The teller confirms a documented charitable transfer. Legitimate, she says. Legitimate is my new lullaby. Evening settles. Receipts go into a cereal box turned ledger. Tabs in a binder. Luca. Housing, work, Edwin. On a sticky note, if the boundary holds, gratitude stays. Elder wisdom. Never accept help. You can't explain to your future self. Say the story out loud. What came? who sent it, what it cost, and if your voice stumbles, renegotiate before dark. Morning brings a text from Iris. How's my baby? Like she misplaced an umbrella. I send a photo of Luca's blueberry foot and a paragraph about milestones, rent, and the weight of safety. She replies with a Lisbon cafe and manifesting abundance. I fold tiny socks with the focus of an athlete. 2 knocks. My body thinks of wolves. My breath remembers the list. On the mat, outlet covers, cabinet locks, and a second-hand baby gate with June's note, scrubbed until even my conscience squeaked. Light joke 2. Between June's bleach and Edwin's bullet points. Our place is turning into a safety-themed boutique. I text Edwin. Thanks. Please pause until next week. He replies. Copy. Standing by. E. Grief gives people new languages. His is courteous logistics. We slip into a rhythm. Coffee, park, nap, budget, laundry. Luca's delighted gasp when I fake sneeze like an opera understudy. I call legal aid and book an appointment. Temporary guardianship sits on the tongue like a lozenge. Medicinal. Slow to dissolve. Academic phrase of the day, parasocial giving. The public argument that strangers form one-sided bonds and give as if they know you. Soothing their own ache as much as yours. Kindness is real. Projection is, too. My job is to keep the kindness and compost the rest. At the clinic, a lawyer named Priya reads my notes like sheet music. You're doing everything right, she says. We'll file, keep receipts, don't block Iris, courts like open doors. Back home, a budget that looks like an apology. Rent, lights, diapers, the slow bleed of wipes. I add, emergency chocolate, delete it, add it back. Integrity without compassion turns people into rulers with no edges. Quirky sidebar. Ducks can sleep with one eye open. Unihemispheric slow wave sleep. Half the brain rests while the other half stands guard. I try it and simply nap like a human. Evening, a delivery guy with a box the size of a small sofa. For Luca of 3B. Inside, a luxury stroller, glossy as a car commercial. Card. For long walks. Return if you prefer simpler. E. My throat tightens, not at the stroller, but at the word return. Options are dignity's favorite cousin. Light joke 3. The stroller has more cup holders than my first apartment had forks. I text. Beautiful, but too much. Please return and send store credit for basics. Minutes later, on it, store credit incoming. Proud of you. E. Proud lands gently. No possession. No paternal weight. This is the help I can use. Revised. Responsive. Rescindable. I draft a letter to Iris I may never send. About lists and strollers and blue socks that refuse to match any other blue sock on earth. Abundance isn't latte art. It's a ledger where love and logistics balance. I sign it, Mom. Close the notebook. June stops by with a casserole that pretends it isn't proud of itself. We eat at the newly shimmied table. She asks about Priya. I tell her the plan. Paper is a kind of armor, June says, but only if it fits. She reaches over, adjusts the crooked tab on my binder, and somehow the room feels tidier inside my ribs. On her way out, she tacks a small bell to the back door. For your peace of mind, she adds. And because I like bells. When it chimes in the breeze, it sounds like a yes that doesn't pressure anyone. My phone buzzes. Edwin shares a photo of a lantern-strung alley. Our honeymoon. 37 years ago. I sent it to say I know the look of beginnings. That's all. I stare long enough for the warm light to tint my wall. I type, thank you for the list and for correcting the stroller. Boundaries are working. A thumbs up, then silence, eloquent in its restraint. Before bed, I tape a new card. Feed baby, pay rent, rest eyes, review rules, a small liturgy. The building settles, the city hum narrows. Luca sleeps with his mouth slightly open, visiting a world we can't enter. I tuck the blanket, check the window lock, and sit on the edge of the bed for the first time in months. The quiet isn't a cliff, it's a dock, sturdy, splintered, facing water I can name. Tomorrow we'll file forms, buy groceries, circle the lake with a squeaky umbrella stroller. Help will come if asked, and stop if asked. And I will practice the bravery that looks like letting clean lines hold. The courthouse air tastes like photocopier heat and old resolve. Priya meets us by the metal detector, her tote bag organized the way calm looks when it learns to zip. Simple affidavit, petition for temporary guardianship, proof of residence, proof of support, she says, tapping each form. You already keep better records than most agencies. Luca hiccups, then settles against my shoulder, a warm punctuation mark. June waits outside with a paperback and a thermos that probably contains tea but behaves like courage. Edwin isn't here. That was my rule. Help is a buffet. I'm choosing portions. We sign where signatures make little fences around our names. The clerk slides our packet into a tray that feels deeper than it looks. Hearing in 2 weeks, she says. Judge Harmon, bring the baby. On the way home, I think about what names do. Guardian makes me taller, but not heavier. Grandmother already teaches me to carry what matters on the hip nearest my heartbeat. Mail waits under the door. 2 envelopes with Iris's slanted handwriting. One addressed to me, one to my son, inside mine. A postcard of a Paris bridge and a confession written like a caption, I'm figuring things out. Inside Luca's. A scribble next to a sticker of a croissant. There's no return address. I text her. Hearing in 2 weeks. It's not a wall. It's a railing. You could come. She replies with a photo of a coffee cup too big to be real and the words, manifesting a ticket. Manifestation, I suspect, keeps a messy apartment. Light joke 1. I try manifesting a dishwasher. The sink just blinks at me like, nice vision board, champ. Afternoon brings rain, which is really just the sky outsourcing its laundry. I trade our squeaky stroller for a dry loop around the living room, counting steps in a whisper. 1, 2, we're still here. 3, 4, steady floor. The bell on the back door answers when the wind checks in. I'm getting superstitious about small chimes. They sound like accountability with manners. I sit at the table and open the ledger I found months ago under the loose board. My late husband's scribbles of harvest weights. Names of neighbors. And a column titled Ode Returned, where the math has more kindness than precision. There's a note in his looping hand. Abundance is a rhythm, not a pile. I copy it onto a sticky note and stick it where the light lands in the morning. A soft knock. Not Edwin, he texts first now. I open the door to a small box from a camera shop. Inside, a printed photo of me and Luca from the park. Unposed and tender, clearly taken at a distance. No note, no sender. My stomach drops through an invisible hatch. I check the street. Nothing but rain and a trash can pitching arguments to itself. I text Edwin. Did you send a photo? He replies fast. No, and I won't. Do you want me to check with the shop? I breathe around the hard spot in my throat. No, I'll handle it. But please, no gifts this week. Understood. E. Academic phrase of the day. Surveillance creep. The public argument that technological watching slides from safety to intrusion. One convenience at a time. The phone that maps your jog also maps your jitters. We humans love a dimmer switch. Trouble loves it, too. I take the photo to June. She studies it. Then the glue edge. Whoever printed this either knows you well enough to be sloppy or not at all well and trying to look intimate, she says. Either way, ick. She hands me a small roll of paintable film. We're frosting your windows this afternoon. Hospital nurses hate drafts and love privacy. Consider me still on shift. Light joke 2 between June's film, Our Bell, and my brass whistle. We're one fog machine away from a very low-budget security system. We cover the lower panes. The room changes personality, softer at the edges, like someone switched the living room to library mode. I move the bassinet 2 inches because sometimes agency is a ruler and sometimes it's a thumb. Quirky sidebar in 18th century Japan. Night watchmen carried wooden clappers called hyoshigi and walked the streets tapping a rhythm to warn of fire and thieves. It wasn't perfect protection, but it made a neighborhood breathe together. A bell is my hyoshigi. Neighbors are my rhythm section. Evening. Priya texts a reminder to document the photo and our window update for the record. I slip the print into a plastic sleeve, write the date and time, and tuck it into the binder tab labeled Safety. I didn't think adulthood would involve so many pockets. A ping, Iris again. Hey, Mom, random, but do you know a guy named Edwin? My mouth goes dry and hot at once. A weather system with poor boundaries. Why? I type, slowly, like each letter owes rent. Someone commented on my post with a photo of you and Luca and a quote about fixing 3 leaks. They deleted it, but I saw it. My vision narrows to the width of the screen. Who else saw? I ask. Just me, I think. My account is private. Mom, who is he? I tell her, a widower, a foundation, rules, receipts. Sounds creepy, she types. Also, helpful? The 2 words stand there awkwardly, like cousins who didn't expect to meet at the same party. I forward the screenshot to Priya. She calls. 2 reminders, she says gently. 1. Gratitude and caution aren't enemies. 2. Limit your digital footprint until the hearing. Private settings. No geotags, fewer details. Courts love boring. Make your life the oatmeal of the internet. Light joke 3. If anyone needs me, I'll be a bowl of password-protected oatmeal wearing a hat. That night, the rain stops and the quiet seems purposeful, like a listener taking notes. I make chamomile tea and read the ledger again. My husband once wrote, loaned Mr. S. shovel, returned with pie. The math of community is pastry-based, and sometimes that's enough. But now we have receipts and a judge's calendar. We are the modern version of the oldest thing, neighbors who refuse to leave each other alone in the hard. Elder wisdom. Don't mistake secrecy for safety. A secret hides you. A boundary holds you. If your solution can't face daylight and paperwork, it will dissolve at the first tap on the door. The next morning, I call the camera shop. The clerk remembers the order, a walk-in with cash. Name scratched as Alfred. No contact info. Older, younger, I ask. Middle, he says, unhelpfully. Polite. I thank him. Polite, I think, is a code anyone can borrow. At the park, the dogs write cursive on the water. I keep my phone in my pocket and my eyes where mothers keep them, everywhere, and without menace. A jogger slows and smiles at Luca. A City Works crew replaces a bent sign. Normal is a choir. I hum along. Edwin texts. Checking in. No packages. Do you want me to stop entirely until after court? I stare at the message, then at Luca's cheeks, which have no idea about jurisprudence. Continue as agreed, by request only. I reply. And please, no social media comments about us. The internet doesn't get a vote. Understood. He sends back. A beat later. I'm sorry if I was careless. I sit on the bench where we first measured 15 feet. The distance seems right still. What changes is not the space, but the clarity. It turns out help isn't a flood or a trickle. It's a valve you learn to adjust. Iris sends a final text that night. I'm looking at flights. No promises yet. I type, delete, type again. If you come, bring honesty, leave the captions, a long pause. Then, okay. Before bed, I update the binder, add a page, visitor's policy, right? We do daylight, we do rules, we do second chances slowly. I tape the page to the inside of the door. The bell stirs when the fridge kicks on. I imagine the old watchmen tapping their wood at the end of the street, reassuring everybody that someone awake cares about the rest. I turn off the lamp. In the dark. Luca's breath is a gloved metronome. My eyes close like curtains, with a little tug and a promise to open again. If fear comes, I'll greet it and offer a seat, because hospitality is sometimes the bravest way to measure a shadow. And if morning comes first, as it tends to do, I'll lace up our shoes, pour oatmeal into a small bowl, and practice the art of being unspectacularly safe. June circles a time on her paper calendar. Noon. Community library. Tables near the big window. Neutral ground, she says, tucking a pencil behind her ear. The bell on our back door chimed at dawn. I set out 2 mugs for later. Edwin texts at 10. Library works. 15 feet. I'll bring documentation and a sandwich to bribe my own nerves. I answer, no food. Librarians protect their carpets like endangered species. He sends a laughing dot and a thumbs up. We arrive early. Luca naps in his sling. The library's quiet grows you taller inside. June chooses a nearby chair, angled so she can watch without hovering. I set my binder on the table like a compass and breathe. Edwin appears on time, stopping at the agreed distance. A slim folder, a respectful posture. Thank you for meeting, he says softly. I'll explain. And I'll accept your no if that's what today needs. Explain first, I say. He places the folder at the midpoint and steps back. Inside, the foundation charter bearing his late wife's name, Lila Harris Aid, Articles of Incorporation, filings, a board list of 3 people who look like folks who keep extra umbrellas in their cars. There's a page labeled Intake System, Pilot, with arrows that make my eyes do tiny push-ups. He talks slowly, careful with verbs. Lila used to say, the right help arrives like a curb, solid, low, there when you need it, and you don't trip on it. After she died, I built a small system based on wrong numbers. People mistype. Those texts fall into the ether. We catch the ones that sound like need and send back a respectful question. If they engage, we offer a stopgap, groceries, rent, a ride to court. No evangelizing, no conversion rates, no miracles, just curb. My jaw wants to be skeptical because jaws think they're bodyguards. So you run a net under typos, he nods. We call it mismatch, but it's really attention with a little math. Who else sees the texts? 2 staff, he says, shifts, bound by privacy. We don't post or share. Long-term help goes to real organizations. We are a bridge, not a city. I slide out the diagrams. The arrows march sensibly. The footnotes show a lawyer's fingerprints. And the photo at the park? A wince. Not me. I haven't taken a photo and won't. When you told me. I checked our logs and vendors. None of us printed anything, if you want. We'll pay for a camera at your door, installed by a woman-run company. June, pretending to read a gardening book, nods in my peripheral vision. I file the offer in a folder titled Maybe, under supervision. Light joke 1. If adulthood is mostly choosing which folder to put feelings in, I'm going to need a bigger binder and a label maker with a gentle voice. Why the 10,000? I ask. That wasn't a curb, that was a cul-de-sac. His smile goes rueful. Pilot error. The program has a button capped at 200. I meant to send that. I also moved a bequest from Lila's account and clicked the wrong line. He grimaces. My accountant scolded me and sent an article about donor discipline. The money is yours. No strings, but if you prefer. We'll reclassify it as a reserve used only when you authorize by text. June clears her throat in the way nurses do to break a spell without popping it. I look at Luca's sleeping mouth, at the papers, at my hands that have learned to take, to decline, to hold. Academic phrase of the day: paternalistic altruism. The public argument that help given from above can feel like invisible hands arranging your furniture. Even if the couch is nicer, best practice says aid should preserve agency before comfort. So, the person being helped remains the protagonist. I accept the reclassification, I say. Reserve fund, buy text releases, and no more surprise deliveries. You can send a list of options. I'll select or decline. Also, no social media, ever. Agreed, he says. And I'll put our board chair, Mrs. Dunbar, on notice that you may contact her anytime. Extra accountability. We draft a one-page memorandum. Boundaries, amounts, process, an end date after the hearing. I handwrite a line that matters to me. If at any point this makes my life feel smaller, we stop. He signs, I sign, June signs as witness, with her pen that writes like a polite river. Quirky sidebar. In 1913, early U.S. parcel post rules were so vague that at least a few children were allegedly mailed to relatives with stamps on their coats. Rural mail carriers walked them there. The loophole closed soon after. Rules exist because people will try almost everything. My memo is a very small, very loving postal code. We move to practical things. He mentions a grant for legal fees. I decline. Citing Priya's sliding scale, he offers grocery cards. I accept one, because refrigerator math insists. He asks if he can meet Luca someday. I say yes. In a month. At a playground. With June present and my whistle dangling like a treaty. Light joke 2. The whistle has become a character in our lives. If it had a resume, it would list morale officer and dramatic accessory. Back home. The apartment breathes easier, as if the frosted windows learned a new song in major key. I text Priya a photo of the memo. She replies, clean, bounded, boring. Judges love boring. I hadn't expected boring to feel like a warm blanket, but here we are, wrapped. Iris sends a voice note from a tiled hallway. The echo makes her sound farther than Europe. I'm sorry about the photo. I panicked. I thought you were replacing me. I sit on the edge of the bed and answer like a map folded carefully. There is no replacing, I say. There is only arranging, so the baby doesn't tip. She sniffles, then clicks off. Later. She texts a screenshot. She changed her account from @Paris or bust to simply @IrisAnne. Small renamings are a kind of sobriety. Evening gathers itself. The neighbor kid practices trumpet scales that never quite decide which note is home. I silently cheer for every uncertainty. I write today's elder wisdom on an index card and tape it next to the bell. Elder wisdom. Ask for names, not just gifts. A nameless blessing can sweeten today, but a named agreement protects tomorrow. If generosity can't sign on the line, it's only weather. Light joke 3. To celebrate our signature party, I make oatmeal cookies with too many raisins, which is to say, the correct number. Night deepens. I read the ledger, tracing my husband's curvy note where he wrote, returned, shovel, pie paid. And underneath, in pencil, faded to the color of old smoke. Trust is an interest-bearing account. I imagine Lila somewhere approving of curbs over cul-de-sacs and feel accompanied by practical ghosts who liked clipboards. Before sleep, I set the baby monitor and the phone to Do Not Disturb, except for 2 numbers, Priya and June. Edwin can wait until morning because kindness with a curfew is still kindness. I stand at the window and watch the street lamp halo the rain-wet leaves. Somewhere, a clapper might be knocking wood. Here, our bell breathes when the air moves. A tiny hinge speaking fluent yes. The memo writes in my binder like a calm dog in a car, occasionally sighing, otherwise content to watch the scenery. 2 days pass quieter than ordinary bread. Then Darwin texts, carefully within our rules. I have context you may want related to the first transfer and how your number reached us. In person, library again, your call. Context is a door I prefer to open myself. Library, I reply. 15 feet. Bring only what you can explain in 2 minutes. He answers with a single, understood. June comes because June is part of any sentence that ends with meeting. Luca gnaws a rubber giraffe who has seen things. The table by the big window feels like an old friend who whispers, posture. Edwin places a single envelope at center and steps back. This is about the wrong number, he says, not about your daughter's private life beyond what directly intersects your safety and finances. He waits. I nod at the envelope like it's a skittish cat. Inside, a printout of the misdialed text thread from the day my thumb stumbled. A bank confirmation that the $10,000 came from the Foundation's reserve after his wrong click. And a short report from their intake team noting a cluster of messages to similar numbers from one device over several days. Variations of, can I borrow $40? The kind of spray and pray you try when panic feels like a stopwatch. I'm telling you because pattern matters, Edwin says. We believe several of those were yours, mistyping as you tried again, but some look like they came from a different device on your Wi-Fi. We flagged it only to make sure you weren't being spoofed. I do the pocket check for patience. A different device? Possibly a phone that was once paired to your network. His voice is careful, not dramatic. We don't track identity. We only saw the timestamps and IP cluster. It could be unrelated. It could be Iris. Before she left, it could be a neighbor borrowing signal. June tilts her head the way nurses do when they can feel a bruise forming under the skin. We change your Wi-Fi password tonight, she murmurs, and we stop naming networks after pets. Light joke 1. Farewell to Mr. Whiskers Vi. He served bravely and leaked like a sieve. I text Priya a photo of the report. She replies with a list. Change passwords. Enable 2-factor. Keep the memo handy and breathe. Priya always adds breathe as if it were an appointment you could miss. Edwin hands over one last page. This part I hesitated on. His eyes flick to Luca, then back to me. Our team found a public crowdfunding page tied to your daughter's handle from 3 months ago. Help me reunite with my son. It listed your address, claimed you were blocking access, and asked for donations for a legal rescue. The page is now removed, but the cached copy shows 2 names attached to large pledges that bounced, plus comments that read like scripts. My throat tightens with the particular ache of being narrated incorrectly. I scroll the cached PDF he's printed. There's my door in a blurry photo and a paragraph that repaints me as a villain who slams the phone on lullabies. The page has taken itself down, but the residue hums like a fridge in the next room. Academic phrase of the day, performative distress. The public argument that we sometimes package our pain for an audience, shaping it for sympathy and money, while the untelevised work of repair waits at the sink. Courts don't weigh your followers, they weigh your forms. Thank you, I say, and the words feel like putting a lid on a pot. That's enough for today, he nods, already retreating. Respect, always. If you want us to send this directly to your lawyer, we will. Otherwise, I'm done. He gives a small, almost apologetic bow to the general air, then disappears into the stacks, like a man returning to a quieter alphabet. June and I sit with the envelope between us. The library clock making the kind of sound that reminds you minutes are honest, even when people aren't. You okay? She asks. Define okay, I say. Breathing? Yes. Making cookies later? Also yes. She pats my hand. Then we are within parameters. Back home. I make a fresh tab. Digital. I slide in the printouts. Write dates, scribble context confession, and underline twice. Iris texts a photo of a hostel bunk bed with the caption, "Character building," I reply. Password changed, hearing still set. "If you plan to come, tell me the flight by Thursday." She sends a heart and the airplane emoji, which is not a ticket but does resemble one if you squint and need it to. Quirky sidebar in the 19th century. Some photographers use spirit effects, double exposures and smoke, to sell portraits where the dead conveniently appeared near the living. People paid for evidence of what they wished were true. The modern version fits in your palm and calls itself Stories. Light joke 2. If a ghost wants to show up in my living room, it can at least bring diapers and keep the captions brief. Evening becomes an experiment in gentle fortification. June brings over a Wi-Fi extender that is actually a small white square that pretends to be shy. We rename the network to something so unappetizing no one will try to borrow it. Update printer now 83. We set a guest network for real guests. I text Priya our new settings like I'm submitting homework to a patient but opinionated cloud. Luca, oblivious to digital hygiene, discovers his toes and looks at me like he solved a scandal. I clap. He claps the air back. My heart, which has been sitting in a folding chair for months, gets promoted to a couch. Elder wisdom goes on a card by the bell. When a story tries to borrow your face, answer with records, not rage. Paper keeps shape better than shouting, and it stacks nicely by the door. Iris calls. No video, just voice. Airports play piano in the background. "I'm trying," she says. "I did stupid things. I made a page I shouldn't have. I took it down." She exhales like a tire, admitting it's tired. "I thought the internet would raise me." I lean against the counter and look at the memo, at our bell, at the frosted window that lets light in and keeps nonsense out. "Luca needs consistency," I say, "and you need witnesses. We can be both if we tell the truth on paper." She sniffles. "Can I help with money? You can sign what we file and show up when you say you will." I answer, "Money is a thermometer, presence is a heater." She half laughs. "Okay, Mom." We hang up without fireworks, which feels like lighting a candle in a windy church and seeing it stay. 2 days later, a small certified letter arrives addressed to me and, in smaller letters, care of Luca. Inside, a note on foundation letterhead that reads like a steady hand on a shoulder. Per agreement, reserve funds available by text, no further unrequested deliveries. Digital comments disabled, accountability contact enclosed. The letter is boring in the way bridges are boring to people who have never fallen into a river. I place it in the binder and feel the room tilt toward livable. Light joke 3. To celebrate, I make tea so mild it qualifies as witness protection. At dusk, we walk the park path. The ducks are conducting union negotiations with the geese, which look tense but procedural. A dad teaches his kid to ride a bike by jogging behind her, hand hovering an inch from the seat, not touching unless needed. That, I think, is the picture I want for all of us. Hover. Don't steer, catch, don't carry. June loops her arm through mine. "You're doing it," she says. "You're building a boring little fortress." We pass the bench where our first 15 feet were measured. The distance still holds. But the meaning has matured. It's not a moat anymore. It's a path we agreed to stay on. At home, I open my husband's ledger again on one page. He had doodled a scale, 2 plates, and written weights I can lift on the left, weights I can't on the right, and beneath both, neighbors. I run my finger over the pencil until the word neighbor smudges just enough to look like it's in motion. I tuck Luca in, check the locks, listen to the new, dumb Wi-Fi name hum like a restrained joke, and let the bell breathe in the draft from under the door. The world can be loud and performative. We can be steady and witnessed. I whisper the tomorrow list. hearing prep, milk, socks, call Priya, bake cookies, practice telling the truth without hurry. Then lights out, a small fan's hush in a night that doesn't need an audience to be real. Priya schedules a pre-hearing conference call for Thursday morning, the kind that sounds mundane until you remember lives get rearranged in voices. June brings muffins that pretend they're bread-wearing dessert hats. Luca flirts with a dust mote like it paid for front row seats. I set my binder open to the memo we all signed, the certified letter clipped like a polite paper hug. Edwin texts, "Standing by off stage. Need anything practical?" I answer, "We're covered. Thank you." There's a relief in resources waiting without knocking. At 9 a.m., phones connect. The court clerk clicks in like a metronome. Priya's tone goes low and steady, the kind of calm you can pour tea on. Then Iris joins, breathless, echoing somewhere between gate and apology. "I'm here," she says, and the two words wobble like a foal finding legs. Priya outlines what we'll ask. Temporary guardianship for stability. Visitation arranged around Luca's nap. A parenting class Iris can complete from anywhere. "This is scaffolding," Priya says, "not a sledgehammer." The phrase threads the room and tucks itself around the bell on our door, ringing without noise. I take my turn. I have records of care, receipts, doctor visits, and a plan. I say, "I'm not closing a door. I'm closing a window so the baby doesn't fall out." Iris inhales like she's assembling courage from air. "I messed up," she says. "I want to fix it. I can fly home next week." I look at Luca's socks, blue, and somehow still refusing to match each other, and choose my verbs like soft bricks. "If you come, we'll meet at the library first. June will be there. We'll keep visits short and predictable. We'll tell the truth on paper." The clerk schedules the hearing for the following Wednesday, then signs off. After. There's a silence that feels like room. No longer accusation. Not yet celebration. June squeezes my hand. "Pulse even," she says, her favorite diagnosis. We practice. That afternoon, June role-plays as the judge. She moves a coaster like a gavel and asks questions, while Luca gums his giraffe with the seriousness of a law clerk. Who pays for formula? How do you communicate expectations? How do you handle social media? I answer with the memo. With our no photos, no surprises. With our reclassified reserve funds that only move by text. We script answers that sound like we've been living them, because we have. Academic phrase of the day. The best interest standard. The public argument that courts should center a child's welfare over any adult claim. A compass admired for its heart and criticized for its vagueness. In practice, judges like evidence that looks like oatmeal, warm, steady, and not trying to trend. Light joke 1. If the algorithm ever gets interested in oatmeal, we're all in trouble. Iris sends her itinerary, a red-eye landing Tuesday night. She adds, "I can stay at my friend's place. I'll meet you at the library Wednesday morning." A picture arrives. Her suitcase. A cracked wheel bandaged with duct tape. It looks like contrition with practical skills. I text Edwin. "We'll need a rideshare voucher from the reserve for Iris to get from the airport to her friends, not for me to pick her up." He replies, "Approved by text, done, no commentary, E." Then, after a minute, "I wish you're hearing boring success. Bless the man who knows how to make goodwill sound like a beige sweater." Evening. I write the Elder Wisdom card for the day and slide it under the bell's magnet. Elder Wisdom. Agreements outlive moods. Make your kindness in ink and your boundaries in bold. So when feelings arrive like weather, your plans don't blow off the porch. Light joke 2. I add a smiley face that looks like it knows a notary. We prepare the space for Iris like you prepare a guest room that used to be a closet. Simple. Clean. Not pretending to be a hotel. I put a folded blanket in a tote. A travel-size shampoo on top. Surfaces with nothing on them are my new luxury. Quirky sidebar in the early 1900s. Some city apartments had baby cages attached to windows so infants could nap in fresh air several stories up. Parents clipped them like bird cages to brick. The practice faded because we learned that fresh air is good, but gravity insists on its own terms. I think about that often. Good intentions need rails. Tuesday night, Iris arrives. We don't do an airport scene. That would be theatrics. And we're writing a different genre. She texts when she's at her friend's. Then, tomorrow, 10 a.m., library. I reply with the table near the big window, our favorite daylight. I wake early. The fan makes its river noise. Luca breathes like a calm metronome. I make coffee and a batch of muffins on purpose this time. Blueberries, the honest kind. June knocks and slips in. Checks the bell like it's a patient, then checks my face like the same. At the library, we choose our table. Binder between us like a small, friendly fence. Iris arrives in a jacket I've never seen, face softer than I remember, eyes restless. She pauses at the edge of the scene, asking permission with her body. "Hi," I say, and my voice finds the pitch of welcome without surrender. "Sit. Here's water. Here's the plan." I hand her a one-page visit outline, duration, holds, no photos, no posts, Priya's number if anything goes sideways. She nods, reads, signs with a shaky flourish. "I can do this," she whispers. Luca tilts toward her at once, because babies are Switzerland and also gravity. She holds him. He squints, then settles. His tiny fist opening the way a window does when spring insists. We keep it short, 20 minutes, and end while everyone still has dignity in their posture. Iris kisses Luca's forehead once and passes him back like passing a crown you're not ready to wear. Light joke 3, we check out a board book about ducks and I pay the library $2 in late fees, making us official citizens again. After Iris leaves, I sit with June, who peels a muffin and hands me the best half without comment. "How's your chest?" she asks. "Roomy," I say, surprised to hear myself. There's a relief in choosing reality over rescue fantasies. It's heavy, but it balances. Edwin texts, "Not intruding, just a small, respectful, thinking of you all, reserve available if needed, E." I send back a thumbs up and a line I mean exactly as written. The curb is working. Back home, I add today's pages to the binder, the visit plan, Iris's signature, the library checkout receipt. Yes, I am that person. And the filed sticker Priya emailed after confirming our hearing details. The binder is getting heavier. My heart is getting tidier. I stand at the frosted window and watch the world as a watercolor. Shapes without sharpness. Light without prying. The bell murmurs. I take out my husband's ledger and find a note I hadn't noticed. Cramped in the margin like a secret. When you don't know what to do the small next thing you can explain without footnotes. I copy it onto an index card and line it up with today's wisdom. Dinner is quiet. Luca learns a new consonant and uses it on the P's. We laugh gently, like neighbors exchanging glances over an affectionate fence. I pack a tote for tomorrow, diapers, wipes, a soft blanket, copies of everything. Snacks, water, and a steady face. I set 2 alarms and then, for once, turn my phone face down and believe it will behave. Before sleep, I send Iris a simple text. "Proud of the way you showed up today. Tomorrow, we answer questions and keep our promises to Luca." 3 dots, then, "Me too. Thank you for not narrating me in past tense." I smile in the dark. Present tense is the grammar of repair. The apartment settles. The new Wi-Fi name hums like a bored librarian. The fan keeps being a river. I count our scaffolding, memo, witnesses, boring letters, baked muffins, a visit outline written in friendly font, and feel the floor under us give a small, approving nod. We are not performing a reunion, we are practicing a life. Tomorrow we'll carry our oatmeal to court, and if anyone asks who we are, we'll say, a baby, a mother, a grandmother, and a little bell that knows when the door moves. We arrive early. 3 bodies, and a binder that has learned to breathe. The courthouse smells like toner and quiet courage. June finds the end of a row and parks herself where nurses park, somewhere between vigilance and knitting. Priya smooths the tabs I made and whispers. We rehearse reality, then we tell it. Iris stands beside me, hands folded around a tissue she doesn't need yet, eyes doing their steady best. Judge Harmon's courtroom is small enough to hear jackets exhale. We take our seats at the petitioner table, which feels grander than it is. On the wall, a clock ticks like it's grading posture. The bailiff calls the room to order, chairs hush in a wave. Priya begins like a soft metronome. Dates, doctor visits, rent receipts. The tidy map of care that doesn't try to be lyrical. She places our memorandum with Edwin on the stack, boring as a bridge, exactly as designed. We ask for temporary guardianship, she says, with structured visitation. We propose a parenting class Iris can complete remotely, and a digital conduct order to reduce online confusion. The judge looks at me. Do you understand the weight? She asks, the way someone checks a cake before they take it out of the oven. I do, I say. We built rails. We'll keep them. She nods once. The judicial version of a high five. Iris clears her throat. I left, she says. Words careful like stepping stones. I made a mess online. I took it down. I'm here to learn boring, steady things. I'll do the class. I'll keep visits predictable. I won't post. She glances at Luca in his stroller, who answers by yawning like a small lion rehearsing a future roar. Academic phrase of the day, procedural justice. The public argument that people accept outcomes better when the process feels fair, even if the decision stings. Respect in the room is part of the remedy. Transparency is the bandage that keeps it in place. Priya calls June, who testifies with the economy of a person who can list pulse ranges from memory. I've observed consistent care, she says, feeding schedules, safe sleep, vaccinations, in a home where the bell rings for boundaries, not emergencies. She pauses, then adds, and oatmeal. The judge's mouth almost smiles. Light joke 1. I resist the urge to offer the court a muffin, which would either be legendary or contempt. During a brief recess. The hallway fills with shoes that disagree about tempo. Priya steps aside to answer a call. A clerk with a stack of files leans near and lowers her voice to the volume of trustworthy secrets. Miss Mara, quick note. We received a complaint last month attached to a crowdfunding link claiming you were withholding the child, she murmurs. It was flagged and closed. Today. Someone from the platform sent a supplemental note. 2 of the large donations were chargebacks from stolen cards. They'll cooperate if counsel requests records. She taps the file with a sympathetic finger. Not in your case, docket, yet, but tell your lawyer she can add it to the digital conduct piece. Thank you, I whisper. Priya returns. I relay the message. She writes 1 neat sentence on her legal pad. Third-party records of fundraising irregularities. Request. It looks like a door we might or might not need. Back at counsel table, Iris squeezes her tissue like it's a steering wheel and whispers, I'm sorry. It lands not as performance, but as a tool, useful, graspable, pointed in the right direction. The judge returns. She asks simple, square questions that do not flirt. Who does night feedings? Where's the crib? How will you communicate? I answer with the binder as a cheat sheet I'm allowed to love. We text logistics. We avoid narration. We sign plans. We meet at the library. We leave social media out of the room. Quirky sidebar. In 1890, some courtrooms still use spittoons. A few judges fined people for missing. We have progressed to putting phones on silent and telling the truth in fonts you can read from the back row. Civilization is mostly upgrades to manners. The judge folds her hands. Provisional order, she says, voice even as a lamppost. Temporary guardianship to Miss Mara for 90 days. Reviewable. Visitation to Miss Iris twice weekly, 1 hour. Supervised by an agreed adult. She glances at June, or at the public library play area. No social media posts about the child by either party. Parenting class enrollment within 10 days. Exchange logistics via text or a co-parenting app. Any support must be documented. She looks kindly tired, the way people look when they've listened all morning. Best interests require structure. You are all building some. Keep going. My ribs unbuckle. Iris exhales into her jacket. June nods to herself like a metronome that found the beat. Priya's pen makes a circle and a check mark. 2 tiny fireworks we can keep. Light joke 2. If relief had a sound. Today it is my binder clicking shut with the elegance of a well-behaved lunchbox. Outside. The sky has arranged a small, polite sun. Priya hands us copies and a next steps list. We'll request those crowdfunding records, she says. It's not essential today, but it supports the no posting clause. She turns to Iris. Class link is on page 2. If you hit a snag, call me before the internet. Iris nods. Tissue now a neutral object. By the elevators. Edwin appears in the way we agreed, not inside the courtroom. Not first, not flashy. He holds a paper bag and stays well outside the 15-foot radius until I wave him in. Sandwich, he says. For the ride home, no symbolism. Turkey. Average mustard. He sees the copies in my hand. Boring success? Boring success, I confirm. He tips an invisible hat to Priya and to June, then retreats like a gentleman ghost who pays his taxes. We eat in the lobby's quiet corner. Luca studies a ceiling vent like it's modern art. Iris tries a joke and it lands wobbly but upright. I guess I'm getting certified in Parenting Oatmeal 101, she says. You'll pass, I tell her, and mean it. The exam is mostly naps. Elder wisdom. Celebrate with small things you can clean up in 15 minutes. Big parties make big promises. A quiet sandwich tells the truth and leaves the counters tidy for tomorrow. We walk to the car through air that feels unremarkable in a holy way. I stop by the clerk's window to file our copies. The stamped seal lands on the paper with a thunk that sounds like furniture placed where it belongs. Priya leaves to catch another client. June peels off to pick up an order of paper towels because she believes in dignified bulk. At home, I slot the order into the binder's Orders tab. The letterhead peaks like a bookmark in a novel that keeps choosing us back. Iris sits on the floor with Luca and a stack of blocks. He knocks over the tower she builds and then examines her face to learn whether falling is a mistake or a game. She laughs. He laughs. The apartment relaxes one vertebra at a time. Light joke 3. I make celebratory tea, so decaf it apologizes for existing. My phone buzzes. Priya. Platform Council will send a declaration about the chargebacks next week. Also, your judge appreciates one-page updates with bullet points. Do that instead of paragraphs. I answer with a thumbs up and a bullet point. Iris scrolls to the parenting class link and signs up, thumb hovering like a cautious bird. The first module is literally called Boring Wins, she says. I'm ready. We agree on her next visit, Friday at the library. Same table, 25 minutes, a longer hug at the end. Evening. I write today's card and slide it under the bell magnet. We keep rails visible and promises short. We let the baby teach us the rhythm of repair. Stack, wobble, clap, repeat. The fan begins its river. The new Wi-Fi name hums its bureaucratic lullaby. I open my husband's ledger and find. On a page I flipped past a dozen times. A small penciled whisper. When something good happens, don't throw a parade, set a table. I lay out plates for breakfast and smile at how tomorrow already looks fed. When the lights go out. The room is ordinary and kind. The bell breathes with the hallway air. Luca rustles, settles. I move the binder to the chair by the door, not as a fortress, just as a reminder that paper can be a quiet friend. Process in place, people in place, promises in place. We do not solve everything. We sleep anyway. The order hangs on our fridge under a plumber magnet. Now it advertises due process. Priya emails a one-page, boring update template, and I fall for a document that knows how to be brief. Iris finishes Module 1, Boring Wins, and forwards the quiz certificate with the pride of someone who didn't trust the curve. We meet at the library again, 25 minutes. Luca between us, like Switzerland in socks. We end before anyone gets heroic. By afternoon, the sky changes its mind. Clouds stack like an unfiled inbox. Storm protocol, June says, arriving with batteries and a flashlight that could interrogate the moon. We check the bell. Secure windows. Set a kettle in case electricity naps. Edwin texts within the rules. High winds forecast. Want a battery lantern delivered to the front desk? I picture our memo's spine and type, yes, no doorstep, no knocking. He replies, copy, E. The power flickers twice, then holds. Rain advances in bands. I move Luca's bassinet from the window anyway. Storms are performance art. You're allowed to adjust the seating. Iris texts a worksheet photo. Name 3 routines that help a baby feel safe. She's written, same place, same songs, same faces. I send a confetti emoji that looks like it knows how to whisper. Academic phrase of the day. Risk homeostasis. The public argument that when people feel safer, they sometimes take more risks. Keeping danger at its favorite level. We got a court order and frosted windows. That doesn't mean we try parkour. Safety is not a coupon for stunts. Morning breaks like a patient finding pulse. The lantern sits on the counter, looking useful and unemployed. I text Edwin. Received, thank you. Storing for next time. He replies. Delighted to be boring equipment. E. We walk the neighborhood to inventory what the wind rearranged. The ducks have rezoned parts of the path as water. They look pleased with expanded jurisdiction. This is the day Edwin asked to meet Luca, and the world looks rinsed. I text, playground in 20, 10 minutes only, 15 feet unless invited closer. June present, no photos. Understood, he answers. He arrives in a navy jacket. June stands nearby, sentinel with a paperback. Edwin stops at our negotiated distance, hands visible. Hello, Luca, he says softly. I'm Edwin. I help your grandma sometimes with lists and lanterns. Luca studies him with the solemnity he gives ceiling fans. I say the rules out loud because speaking them makes them sturdier. 10 minutes, no touching. Gentle voices. Edwin nods. He kneels, not closer, just lower, and lets his gaze hover at Luca's height. You've got storm hair, he says. It suits you. Light joke 1. If Charisma were a babysitter, it'd be the kind that brings board games and leaves on time. You may roll the ball, I add. Edwin produces a soft blue ball, new. Tag still attached, offered like an apology. He rolls it gently. Luca pats it with the seriousness of a tiny customs agent. Twice is enough. Thank you, I say. Edwin inclines his head and backs away until the wind takes his place. After. June hands me a thermos. You did exactly enough, she says. That's an amount people don't practice. We sit and let the feeling of enough set. Back home. I add a page to the binder. First meeting with Edwin, playground. Rules followed, ball rolled. I staple the lantern receipt and write, equipment, not intimacy. The memo's signatures look up unbothered, like well-fed cats. Quirky sidebar. In the Victorian era, people kept storm jars, sealed glass where crystals formed when weather shifted. Admirers swore they predicted storms. Skeptics called it pretty nonsense. Our binder is a humane storm jar, Papers to look at when the weather inside a day gets loud, not to predict, but to remember what we already chose. Iris arrives for her afternoon visit on time. She washes her hands without prompting, narrates each step to Luca, asks if she can sing the old song. Yes, I say, settling at the other end of the couch, witness and chaperone. Her voice is softer than her captions used to be, which is progress you can't screenshot. When Luca fusses, she drops a key, it works. She looks up, surprised and a little proud. He likes contraltos, I say. I like that he likes me, she answers. Light joke too. If parenting were a concert, half the job would be key changes and the other half would be finding the bathroom in the dark. After the visit, Iris asks, "Can I help pay for the lantern?" I shake my head. Edwin covered it through the foundation, its equipment. Your contribution is showing up clean-handed and on time. She nods. I can do predictable. It's the least glamorous promise and therefore my favorite. Priya texts. Platform Council will finalize a declaration about those chargebacks by Tuesday. Judge still prefers bullet updates. Keep it oatmeal. I type a summary designed to put a caffeinated squirrel to sleep. Dates, times, lantern, playground meet with rules, Iris visit, no deviations. Evening brings a soft knock. June with a brochure from the woman-run company Edwin mentioned. Not persuasion, she says. Menu. We read quietly. Local storage, motion zones. No cloud subscription. Installation by two techs who look like they could fix a satellite and then knit a hat about it. After the next check, I say, we'll schedule. Elder wisdom. Equipment is not a personality. Buy tools that make life quieter, not busier. Bells over alarms. Lists over apps. Lights over panic. Light joke 3. I label the lantern, lantern, in case future me mistakes it for avant-garde fruit. Night dries the sidewalks to a matte finish. I open my husband's ledger and find, low in the margin, a sentence I keep missing. After a storm, walk the fence line slow. I translate it for apartment life. Check the rules, the locks, the hearts. I set 3 things by the door. Binder, diaper bag, a note that says, breathe before reacting. Before bed, I text Iris. Proud of your steady today. Same plan Friday. 3 dots. Then, thank you for not narrating me in past tense. I smile. Present tense is the grammar of repair. The fan starts its river, the bell sighs once. The order on the fridge does not solve love, but it holds the frame while we practice inside. Tomorrow, another library visit. Next week, a door camera that minds its business. All of it ordinary, all of it the scaffolding of a home where a baby learns trust one nap at a time. The week after the storm arranges itself in careful squares. Library visits, oatmeal mornings, nap-colored afternoons. The court order on our fridge has become like the calendar's stern but loving aunt, quietly present, occasionally tapped for clarity. Iris finishes Module 2, Calm Routines, and texts a photo of her notes where she's underlined consistency so many times it looks like a picket fence. I text back, Fence Eagle Safe Yard. Priya emails the platform declaration. 2 large donations to Iris's old page were chargebacks from stolen cards, and 3 smaller ones were flagged as coordinated. We'll file as an attachment in case anyone tries to resurrect that story, she writes. Boring ink on official paper, that's our house style now. Edwin pings with a question shaped like a doily. May the foundation fund a portable crib for Iris to keep at her friends, only if requested. We consult the memo. The rule that generosity must be explainable to tomorrow. I text. Yes, if she asks for it. 10 minutes later, Iris texts me the same idea unprompted. Approved by text, I send, both to her and Edwin, like a small semaphore that says, see how the rails hold. Then the glossy offer arrives. An email from a parenting brand with a logo so soft it might be a cloud. They love our journey, would like to partner on a courageous comeback storytelling arc, and could sponsor transitional housing in a family-friendly complex with amenities. There's a slide deck. It includes a rooftop pool, a playroom staged like a spaceship, and a content calendar that makes my throat feel like it swallowed cardboard the wrong way. Authentic reels, twice a week. Milestone moments in branded tones. A grandmother's wisdom column. Photo of my hands around a mug I don't own. Light joke 1. The playroom has a miniature grocery store, which is how you know whoever designed it hasn't bought diapers in a storm. I forward the message to Priya and to June. June replies with a single sentence that could be carved on a spoon. A home is not a set. Priya adds 3 bullets. 1. Housing that depends on content is a lease with a camera. 2. Sponsorship turns your privacy into inventory. 3. We can negotiate some offers, but not ones that make the child a product. I sip water until my pulse stops trying to audition for percussion. Academic phrase of the day. Moral hazard. The public argument that when people feel protected from consequences, they sometimes behave less carefully. Insurance makes us drive a smidge bolder. Sponsorship could make us trade privacy for perks until we forget the cost. Our new rule: aid may cushion, but it may not tempt. I write the elder wisdom card and tape it by the bell. Decline help that pays you with attention. You can't fold attention and put it on a shelf. It leaves lights on when you're trying to sleep. Iris comes by for her library visit. We sit at our window table, sun filtering through leaves like a gentle prophecy, and I show her the brand's slide deck. She scrolls, expression pinched. It looks shiny, she says. Then, but I think shine is why I got lost. She hands the phone back like returning a hot pan. Let's not. Relief is a quiet organ. Agreed, I say. We write a 3-line reply together. Thank you for the interest. We're not available for public storytelling partnerships. Our life at present is intentionally boring. We sign it with both our names. I, CC Priya, who responds with a confetti emoji that somehow looks like a file cabinet. Quirky sidebar. When the shopping cart was invented in the 1930s, people refused to use it. Too odd. Too public. The inventor hired models to push carts around the store until shoppers decided the new tool wasn't embarrassing. I think about that while we push our very unbranded stroller past a window display promising aspirational family. Some tools help, some tools teach you to pose. At home, Edwin asks for a short check-in at the library to discuss tapering, he writes. So support doesn't become a shadow you must step around. The word tapering feels like a nice tailor who understands hems. We meet by the big window. June attends as our designated lamplight. Edwin comes with a 1-page chart. Grocery carts decreasing as Iris contributes small amounts. The reserve fund moving from available to available if crisis plus Priya CC'd. A timeline to close our file after the 90-day review if all is steady. Curb, not cul-de-sac, he reminds himself out loud, like a man guarding his own habits. You can veto any line. The point is a ramp toward you not needing us. I like ramps, I say. I don't like being a program. We change a couple of dates, scratch out 1 square. Edwin asks if we want the portable crib purchase to come from the reserve or from Iris's new, predictable routine budget. From Iris, she says, surprising herself. I want to buy something sturdy that's mine to keep boring. We nod. Agency is a cup that tastes like cold water after a long walk. Light joke 2. We celebrate tapering with a library vending machine snack that is 98% air and 2% pretzel, which is exactly the right ratio for symbolic food. Then Iris asks the question that's been pacing in the hall. Could I move in here? Not forever, just for the next step? The room holds still in a considerate way. The bell does not ring, which feels like it's listening. I look at the binder, the order on the fridge, the calendar of scheduled naps. If we try it, I say, we write it before we live it. We draft a cohabitation outline on a legal pad, rent share within her means, chores scheduled, no overnight guests, phone in the kitchen after 9 p.m., visits still signed and supervised until the 90-day review. Social media blackout continues. Any argument paused for 10 minutes before answers. June listed as house witness for the first month. Priya CC'd on the plan. Also, I add, you keep your friend's place as a backup for 2 weeks. We don't burn bridges until we've tested the new road. Iris signs, I sign. June signs like a notary who also bakes. We move a narrow dresser into the corner, make space on a shelf. Fold a blanket crisp as a promise. The apartment gains a new shape the way a song gains harmony. Still the same melody. Now with a voice that has learned to sing under, not over. Luca watches us like a small manager approving a floor plan. Priya reviews the outline by text and suggests a co-parenting app for shared schedules. We download the simplest one, the kind that doesn't brag. When in doubt, Priya says, choose tools that get quiet when the baby sleeps. Edwin emails the tapered chart finalized, with a footer that reads, Exit criteria, dignity intact. It makes me want to bake a cake and also a spreadsheet. Evening stretches its cat paws over the furniture. Iris cooks pasta with too much garlic, which is the correct amount. And we eat at our shim table. We talk about small, repairable things, the laundry schedule, the dishwasher that is actually a person, me. The lullaby rotation so no one has to sing the same song 3 times in a row unless they want to. The bell breathes in a cross breeze like a punctuation mark that refuses to shout. Light joke 3, we draft a house joke policy, puns allowed before 8 p.m., banned during diaper changes, grandfathered in if they make the baby giggle. Before bed, I open my husband's ledger. On a page that kept hiding, I find 2 columns titled Offers I Took and Offers I Declined, with the declined side just as full. Under it he'd penciled, Harvest tastes better if you leave some fruit on the tree. I write today's edition. Declined, glossy housing with content strings. Accepted, our own square feet, our own rules. I slide the card under the bell magnet. We choose the help that leaves our name on the door. We choose the road we can walk at night without narrating it to strangers. We choose the curb over the camera. The apartment settles with 3 heartbeats in it now. The court order on the fridge doesn't glow, it just steadies. The tapered chart folds into the binder like a gentle landing strip. The portable crib is purchased with Iris's cash and fits in her friend's spare room. A small rectangle that says, Plan B is love too. Luca sleeps, mouth open, as if catching moonlight. Tomorrow, we'll run laundry and mow our tiny schedule. Next week, we'll meet the woman-run installers and tell them exactly where we want our camera's boundaries. 90 days from now. We'll walk back into Judge Harmon's calm room and show her a binder full of naps, receipts, and unremarkable meals. If asked what changed, I'll tell her this. We declined the parade and set a table. It seats the right number. We make space without dragging furniture, a hook by the door for Iris's jacket, a labeled bin for Luca's socks that still refuse to mate, a tiny white camera installed by 2 women who moved like kindness with tool belts. Local storage only, they said, showing me how to draw a quiet rectangle on the screen where the lens is not allowed to look. The bell breathed when we tested it, as if approving a boundary with manners. Mornings settle into a soft choreography. Iris does breakfast songs. I do the ledger and the laundry. June drops by to practice her favorite hobby, pretending she's only delivering a casserole when she's obviously also inspecting our piece. Priya's emails arrive like folded napkins, precise, clean, short. Edwin's tapered chart ticks down gently at the bottom of a drawer, which is where you keep good tools that shouldn't become talismans. Today is our 90-day review. We walk toward the courthouse like 3 parts of one careful sentence. Priya meets us with her fountain pen, which writes like second chances. Judge Harmon listens the way a lake listens, wide, still, reflecting what you bring. We keep our answers square. Iris has finished her class. We print the certificate on paper that smells like triumph without shouting. The platform declaration about chargebacks lives in our packet now, quietly supporting the order that keeps cameras off our hearts. Academic phrase of the day: desistance narrative. The public argument that the stories we tell about stopping harm, addiction, neglect, violence, can themselves help that stopping stick. We are not writing a viral redemption arc. We are sewing a quilt of small, untelevised seams, boring on purpose. Light joke 1: if redemption needs a soundtrack. Ours is a washing machine on gentle and a kettle that never quite boils in a hurry. The judge renews guardianship for 6 months with an automatic review. Visits expand to 90 minutes with June or the library. Social media blackout remains. Co-parenting app to continue. Tapering plan endorsed. Portable crib recognized as a meaningful, unglamorous step. She looks at us over her glasses and says, "Keep it ordinary." I resist the urge to salute. Outside, the sun chooses a mellow setting. We eat peanut butter crackers on a bench and inventory our small trophies. A stamp, a certificate, a baby who has decided "ba" is the funniest syllable ever discovered by science. Edwin texts one line. Phase out date stands. Proud of your rails. E. I send a thumbs up and a thank you measured like medicine. Back home, we set the table for spaghetti. The sauce simmering like a patient decision. The new camera blinks once at the hallway and then remembers its job is to forget us until there's a knock we didn't invite. I slide the tapered chart behind the mixer and put a calendar square around the exit meeting with Edwin. We'll bring cookies, I tell Iris. Diplomatic cookies. Quirky sidebar: the little plastic tags on bread loaves are color-coded for the day they were baked. Not every bakery uses the system, but where they do. Monday is blue, Tuesday green, and so on. I like that, a quiet code for freshness sitting on every counter. Telling you something true without demanding applause. Evening visit at the library. Expanded as ordered. Iris carries Luca with the careful casualness of someone who learned the dance steps and now hears the music. She reads the board book about ducks. He interrupts with editorial grunts. She lets him, which is advanced parenting, the humility to be a chorus. When it's time to hand him back, she does. And she doesn't make the room an altar to her sorrow. The bell inside my ribs gives one small, approving chime. Light joke 2. We pay a 25-cent fine for a book we returned 5 minutes late, which makes us official patrons of justice and also ducks. Night inches in. I open my husband's ledger and trace the old pencil where he'd written, "Returned ladder, came back with cobbler." I add a new line, "Returned panic, came back as process." The ledger likes sentences that stack. Elder wisdom, card by the bell. Build a table you can clean in 10 minutes and a plan you can explain in 1. Fancy won't save you. Repeatable will. We meet Edwin for the exit a week later, at the big library window that has become our secular stained glass. He arrives with a folder and a bakery bag. I arrive with cookies that are allowed to be average. He recaps what he's learned from Lila and from us, that curbs save ankles, that reserve funds should obey texts, that mismatched nets catch people but must never keep them. He asks for permission to include, in his next board report, an anonymized sentence about a family who chose the curb over the camera. Yes, I say, if you add that they chose oatmeal over fireworks. He grins, then signs, then steps back into the quiet from which good helpers should come and to which they should return. Light joke 3. We offer him one of our diplomatic cookies. He says it tastes like consent, which is to say, perfectly plain and comforting. At home, The binder goes on a lower shelf, not retired, just demoted to background. The court order remains on the fridge like a calm magnet. The camera minds its rectangle like a well-trained dog. Iris pays a small share of rent, unheroic and on time. We write cohort of 3 on the calendar, which means movie night with no plot twists and a bedtime that would make teenagers weep. Later, I stand at the frosted window and let the street lamp gild the air. My voice in my head is slower now. It pronounces our names like they're sturdy. I think of the wrong number that put us on this road and the right people who kept us from taking exits that would have turned our life into a set. We learned to decline applause. We learned to be witnessed without being harvested. When the apartment finally settles, I tuck the ledger under my pillow like a thin, practical fairy tale. Luca sleeps with his mouth open to catch whatever the night is giving. Iris brushes her teeth to the rhythm of someone trying, not for show, but for keeps. The bell breathes, the camera blinks, forgets us, remembers its job. Tomorrow we'll make oatmeal and not post about it. We'll meet June at the library and pay our tiny fines. We'll let paperwork be our railing and kindness be our quiet light. And when the door moves, the bell will speak fluent yes, but only to the ones we invited. Tonight's story moved like a low river under moonlight, gathering small truths and leaving them glinting where you could see them without squinting. A grandmother named Mara steadied a home after a wrong number blessing arrived in a season that had more need than certainty. She wrote rules before she wrote gratitude, and the rules held. A neighbor nurse named June rang a bell that meant boundaries, not danger. A careful widower, Edwin, learned how to be a curb instead of a flood. And then he exited on purpose. A lawyer, Priya, kept the pages square and the answers short. A judge asked for ordinary, and the family delivered ordinary the way artisans deliver craft, quietly, repeatably, with edges that fit. Iris came home without fanfare and without captions, holding her son and her breath, learning that redemption is a steady lamp, not a spotlight, together. They built a binder that remembered, a camera that forgot, a calendar that forgave, and a table they could clear in 10 minutes. They declined the parade and set a place for the people who would actually eat. They chose the curb over the camera, the oatmeal over the algorithm, the rail over the cliff. They practiced present tense until it sounded like music. So the night closes gently. Papers live where papers belong. The bell speaks fluent yes to the right knocks. The baby sleeps with his mouth open, catching light. The mother sleeps like a singer between songs. The grandmother sleeps the way a harbor sleeps. Lamps low, water sure, ropes tied with the kind of knot that holds without hurting. May your home learn the same small grammar of safety. May your rails be visible, your help sign its name, your quiet be kept, and may your night be steady, kind, and wonderfully uneventful.